In this video for Java, we're going to be talking about how the toString method works. Here I have my main class with my main method set up and ready to go. I also have another class called student, which is going to act as the template for the student object that I create. Let's go ahead and create some attributes for a student. So a student is going to have a name, which we'll put as a string. The student will also have an ID, which we'll put as an int. A student will also have a grade level, which we'll put as an int as well. Now, what we're going to do in this video to save time and show you how the toString method works, we're going to use the constructor, which will accept parameters and assign the value to name, ID, and grade. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we're going to do public student. That is the name of our constructor because it is the name of the class. Notice we have public class student. The name of the constructor must be the name of the class. It's identical to this line of code with the word class missing. So this is our constructor, and I'm going to accept the name, I'm going to accept the ID, and I'm going to accept the grade level. Now you may be saying, well, name matches the attribute name. ID matches the attribute ID name. So does grade. Well, we can overcome that and use the same parameters as our attributes by using the keyword this. I can do this dot name equals name. And now Java knows which one is the parameter and which one is the actual attribute. We're going to accept name as a parameter, and we're going to pass it to the object that is currently being used and assign it to name. And that's what this keyword does. So we're going to do this ID and this dot grade equals grade. So now what we're going to do is we're going to compile. We're going to swing over to our main class now. So here we are in our main class. We have a main method. If you haven't created your main method, feel free to pause the video and do so now. We are going to create an instance of the student class. So I'm going to say student. I'm going to call my object, this student1 equals new student. When I use that keyword new, and you'll know it's keyword because it's shown up in purple, that means we are using a constructor. We are creating a new instance of a class. Well, it needs to know what constructor I'm calling. What constructor am I calling? I'm calling the one student, which is part of the student class. Now you'll notice here I have an error, and that's because our constructor accepted parameters, so I need to put the values in for those parameters. We're going to say his name is Jake. We're going to say his ID number is 5300, and we'll say he's in 11th grade. Now, if I go to print this object, if I want to get the name, his ID, and his grade, I may do something like this. I may say print line, and I may say, okay, I want this student1 dot toString. And what that tells the computer is, you know what? I want to create a string representation of my object. Let's go ahead and compile, and let's see this in action. Well, we used that toString method, and a lot of good it did us. We can't even see his name, his grade, or ID. All we get is something student with an @ sign and a bunch of numbers and letters. What does this mean? This means the student object that we created is currently being stored at this address on the RAM. That's what that means. So what we need to do is we need to override the toString method. You'll see we called toString. There is a method that exists called toString. If it didn't exist, it would show up with a red line underneath it. So what we need to do is do what is called overriding. So we're going to do public string toString, no parameters. This is now overriding the original toString method. We are returning a string. The name of the method we are overriding is called toString, and we have the same amount of parameters or the same signature as the original toString method. You'll see there's a red line there. Don't worry about that. It'll go away in just a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this toString method overriding the original so we can get the name, the ID, and the grade. So we're going to return the student's name is, now I'm going to use name. And what this means is when we do system.out.println, this student1.toString, it means that we're going to put the name of the object, this student1. I also want to say their ID is, because I want to output their ID, and then of course their grade level. They are in grade, put a colon there, and we'll do grade, and we'll put a semicolon. So this is what is going to be returned now when I call the toString method. Let's go ahead, let's compile. What am I forgetting here? Let's see, return, the student's name is, their ID is, and ID. Oh, we forgot a plus sign here. And now we can compile. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our main method. And in our main method of our main class, we're calling the toString method. Let's go ahead and run this now and see what it gives us. And it's going to give us what we're looking for. The student's name is Jake. Their ID is 5300. They are in grade 11. So we have overridden the toString method. So now the toString method, when I call it, it will call the one that is belonging to the student class. You do not have to type in .toString for the method to work. You can simply type in the name of your object, which I have done here, this student1. When I compile and run my source code, it will do the same thing. So you do not have to do .toString. It will print the same thing. The student's name is Jake, their ID is 5300, they're in grade 11. And that is because when you do system.out.println, Java is going to call the .toString method automatically. So this will give us a string representation of an object. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to help our channel grow. We'll see you guys in the next video.